Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, these are strange times that we are living in. And I don't know about you, but it feels like I have to run twice as fast to keep up with whatever is happening out there in the real world. We already have a lot of issues going on. Everybody's dealing with COVID or Omicron or cold, and nobody knows who's got what, where. And we try to figure out what's right and what's accurate and what's true. And all of us are challenged by everything that is going on right now. So I guess I'm going to complicate it a little bit more because I've been doing some research and I really want to share it with you. First of all, for those of you that don't normally listen to this show is brought to you by Million Kids, Million, millionkids.org. If you want to look us up on the internet, we have a whole bevy out there of all kinds of social media. We have our own YouTube channels. If you want to get training, just go into Million Kids under YouTube and you'll find way too many of my presentations probably on there. But we also have Facebook, Instagrams. I think we have a Snapchat. I know we have a TikTok coming out for the younger people. So we deal in combating things like child trafficking, adult sex trafficking, and labor trafficking, social media exploitation, which is what we're going to talk about today. Sextortion, that's when your kid probably sends a photo. Hopefully you won't as an adult. Hopefully you're smarter than that by now. But not everybody is. Trust me, it's amazing how quickly people can get lured into that. I was reading about that earlier, about the number of men who get on those online sex sites and get all hot and bothered and they're interacting with somebody and they don't realize that because they can see the performer on live streaming, they fail to recognize that the performer can also see them and record it and blackmail them with that. And that happens. It happens to adults as well as kids. And so it's a crazy world we live in, because at what point do you have privacy? And that's what I want to talk about today. Is I really want to bring it down to the subject of child pornography, what we call CSAM, child sexual abuse materials. It can be called CSIM, child sexual exploitation materials. But I want to talk about the legality of what's going on. This is always a little dangerous because I don't have slideshows to show you. I don't have a blackboard. Do they even make blackboards anymore, by the way? A whiteboard, maybe. I don't have one of those things where I can draw you a picture. But I just want to get you to thinking about the world that we live in today and the complexity of how all of this works. And so let's talk about this for a minute. I want to first talk about the internet, a little bit about how it's made and how the laws affect that. It really was a wake-up call for me. About a year and a half ago, my organization was taken down off of Facebook. And it was like an axe between the eyes. You know, I'd been doing this business for 10 years. And I try to be fair and honest. When I research, I track what I research. I try not to use any sources that might not be legitimate. I try to give both sides of an issue and like that. But in that particular case, I was combating Proposition 20 that would have made child sex crimes a violent crime in the state of California. Unfortunately, I lost. Not enough people apparently heard me, and it did not pass. But apparently that was considered, because people involved with Facebook disagreed with my opinion, apparently that was taken off the air because I gave an opinion differing from theirs. And so it was an interesting event in my life because, you know, I thought I could post anything I wanted to on Facebook. And they made that very clear to me that it's not my Facebook. They don't charge me. They loan me a platform, and I'm entitled to post on it as long as I don't post things that they perceive as being misinformation, meaning as long as I don't post things that they disagree with. And I was really, really blown away. We hired a consultant and or spoke to a consultant, and he basically said, you know, there is no customer service on Facebook because you are not a customer. And in fact, you don't pay them a dime. So they have a right. It is their platform. And, you know, it was a rude awakening. I don't disagree with them today. It was a painful experience. I'll say that. You know, I mean, they even took me off personally. And all I ever did was say happy birthday to my little granddaughter in Australia. You know, how dangerous can that be? But, you know, my phone number on both accounts were tied back and forth for two-step verification. And so therefore, they decided that I could not be on their platform. If you remember right, Amazon decided that 12 million people could not be on Parler. And, you know, Amazon just does such tremendous service. It drives me crazy. But they just arbitrarily, in one fell swoop, decided they were not going to allow 12 million people on their platform because it turned out that mostly people on Parler were people who were conservative. So it was a fascinating situation. And it'll be even interesting if they allow the promotion of this radio show on their platform. But here we go. But I learned a lot during that time that suddenly I realized this is not some public utility where I can say what I want. In fact, we have moved into a completely different world. These people provide an online platform and they allow you at no charge to post on their platform. And up until about 2018, when something called FOSTA and SESTA came through, nobody really paid attention to it. You see, internet providers fall under something called Section 230. I have a brief kind of statement about that. Among other things, they allow the provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. In other words, they have a platform and you get to use it for free as long as you comply with their rules. Now, I'm going to tell you that most of us never look at their rules. When you download an app, you hit I agree. And you're agreeing that you're not going to put a child on there, in some cases that's under the age of 12. And then you hand your phone to an 8-year-old. And you say, yeah, but they're more like a 12-year-old because my kid's more responsible than most. But you have hit I agree that if they loan you the platform, you're going to agree with it. It further provides that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of, and then there's some dots, there's a bunch of legalese left out, any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or users considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. Okay, so what have I just read to you over here? Well, you hit I agree, and you agree that you're not going to put that stuff on there. But you completely walk away after you hit I agree. You never read it in the first place. And then you say, well, it's my account. I'll post whatever I want. And up until about 2018, that worked. And there were a lot of people who were taking advantage of that. You know, there were a lot of moms and dads that weren't overseeing their children. There were a lot of porn sites that was putting on whatever they want. There were a lot of teenagers that thought this would just be a fun way to post a TikTok or a real sexual video and put that on there. Then it went a little farther where they weren't only posting their own, they were posting others and kind of blackmailing them. Now, what about the poor victim that had their photo posted on one of those sites and they couldn't get anybody to take it down and it was being passed around? And then we matured into, if you call that maturity, I think we digressed into child pornography rings where pornographic materials were obtained illegally by pretending to be some hot 14-year-old boy and getting a kid to send in a naked photo, and they were posted and they were sent around the world. So if something is posted online, who is responsible for the content? I want you to think about that because we're coming up against a break. So we need to make some money here. Stay with us. We're going to be right back.
Listen up, folks. You no longer have to drive out of the IE for a great restaurant experience. The Toasted Barrel, an upscale casual steakhouse located in Corona, has been winning award after award for their great diverse menu, service, ambience, wine, and cocktails. Customers call the Barrel the perfect date night. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant 4 years in a row. Wine Spectator recognized the Toasted Barrel's wine program for their award of excellence. Toasted Barrel is famous for their certified Angus beef, prime, Wagyu, and Kobe steaks, and they have some of the best pasta and seafood around. With happy hour and daily specials every day of the week, their appetizers and drink selections are the best around. Live music starts every Friday and Saturday at 5:30. Planning a dinner party, wedding rehearsal, family gathering, or holiday party? Look up Toasted Barrel online and make your reservation today.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited, Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we are knee-deep into a very difficult discussion today, one that I hesitate to have over the air, if you will, because it's a very complicated question. I'm not sure I have the answers for you. What I want to do is get you to think about what happens here. So who owns the content that you post on somebody's site? Do you own it? You agreed to abide by the rules. If you're posting something on there that doesn't abide by the rules, are they responsible for taking it down, or are you responsible for removing it? What about if they just decide that what you posted they're not in agreement with and it's misinformation? So then they take you down. Who's responsible there? And what happens when something is posted where a third party is being exploited? Is it the person who posted it? Or is the owner of the platform responsible for going through all that content and taking it off? So how does all of this work? Or what happens if your child posts, you've agreed your child's a certain age, but they're not, and they have now violated the rules? Are you responsible for what your child posts when you hit I agree? All of these are very complex discussions that nobody right now has the answers to. I woke up this morning to a headline. It's by Bloomberg Law. I don't have the money to subscribe to their research completely. So I only got part of the article and I've been trying to research it. But the headline was Supreme Court declines to review Google flagged child porn case. So what this is going on about here is that prior to this, they had arrested a child pornographer. And the way that they had discovered this child pornographer is Google had gone through their database and they have what they call an algorithm. We used to call it photo DNA in the old days, but now it's a lot more sophisticated. And so what is happening is that tech companies are being held responsible for what's online. So let me take you back to the history of this so you understand how we get from here to there. Because right now, this is a case that was presented to the Ninth Circuit Court, and they have bumped it up to the Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court is refusing to hear it. So let me take you to the case that brought this to the Supreme Court, and then I'm going to back you back down to the reality of how all of this takes place in your real life. In this case, the Ninth Circuit Court, concerning the images that Alphabet Inc., that is Google's company, flagged as possible child pornography, they were challenging for courts the grappling with privacy issues related for law enforcement searches of digital communications. So what am I talking about here? Well, in this case, the court ruled that a warrant was needed under the Fourth Amendment because they found images from a person named Luke Wilson's in his email account. So Google is being encouraged to use algorithms and go through their entire platform each night and find anything that is taking place that is considered to be illegal child pornography. Now, does Google have the right to do that? Or are they obligated to do that because of our changing laws? The decision contributes to the Ninth Circuit Court calling it a growing tension in between the Federal Appeals Court and how the Fourth Amendment applies to government searches of images that private sector companies like Google flag as child pornography. So let me get this down in layman terms. What has happened is that initially under Section 230, this is the Communications Decency Act, that originally these companies were not responsible for the content. In other words, they loan you their platform and you post what you want and you agree that you're not going to do anything illegal. And they say, but if you do, we are not responsible, including if you post photos of child pornography. But this has progressed to a point where what is happening is that people are posting third parties, and many of them are minors in provocative scenes. And sometimes the minor posts it themselves. You see all kinds of kids doing all kinds of stuff on the internet. But also child pedophiles get out there and they solicit our kids to send photos, and then they send them out around the world. So in 2018, they developed something called the FOSTA-SESTA Act. FOSTA and SESTA, if you want to look that up. Those are sex trafficking bills. And the intent of those bills was basically that kids were getting recruited into prostitution, and then the people would take their photographs and post them online for sale, and that's how they ended up being victims of sex trafficking. So in 2018, they came out with a law, the sex trafficking bill, that said if their photo is posted out there and they end up being violated, and they contact a platform owner such as Backpage or Facebook or Kik or a Craigslist, and they will not take it down, that the victim can then sue for damages. And so we've had almost 3 years of crazy lawsuits. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're trying out these cases. Sometimes it's people who are being sold for sex. Other times it's kids who sent off their naked photo thinking they're going to make a lot of money being an amateur pornographer, but they're a minor. And they need to get that off the websites. And so the movement has been now to punish the companies. Some of you have heard about me talking about Pornhub. By the way, if you don't get our insider alerts, please go to millionkids.org and sign up for Million Kids Insider Alerts, where we discuss this on an ongoing basis so that you can be educated. And in those insider alerts, we began to talk about cases where, like this 17-year-old kid who sent off a naked photo when he's 13, and now he can't get it down. And he's 17. He's trying to go off to college. All the kids at school have seen it, have harassed him, have bullied him, but it's still out there, has been seen by more than 122,000 people and been retweeted by almost 3,000 people. And Twitter is saying, no, this isn't vile to us, so we're going to leave it on there. You sent it in voluntarily. Well, yes, he did, but he didn't authorize people to retweet it or to share it around the world. So that's a picture of his body, but he sent it in, but he was a minor. And Twitter is saying, no, we won't take it down. But in the meantime, you have these other laws that say, if you don't take it down, you can be sued. And a company like Pornhub has more than $500 million in lawsuits by minors who voluntarily sent in those photos, and they were forced to take them down. Nearly 10 million of them, by the way. That says something about our teenagers and how much we need to educate them. So the question is, who owns that? And who's responsible for it if it stays online? And so what is happening is they've started an act called the Earn It Act, which I'll talk about in the next break. And they're trying to hold these companies responsible. I'm talking about these tech companies for everything that is on their platform, and that they have to develop algorithms and go through each night and find it and pull it out and send it off to National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who then disperses it out to law enforcement, who then gets a search warrant and goes out and arrests the person for child pornography, whoever posted it. And so there's all of these lawsuits now trying to sue the tech companies for not doing it. But there's also now all of these lawsuits going on because when the pedophile starts to get arrested, they come back and said, wait a minute, they did not have a search warrant to search my private account and get that photo in the first place. So how can you charge me for a crime? Isn't this a fascinating time to be alive and a fascinating time to legally consider what's right here? My name is Opal Singleton. The organization is millionkids.org. I hope you'll share this show with everyone. We're up against that break. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift, Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I'm with Million Kids, and we are talking about the complex issues of the world we live in today. And I share this with you because most of you know that I fight sex trafficking and especially sextortion lately. We have a movie that'll be coming out the 1st of March, and it is so exciting. And the reason I wanted to make this movie is just this conversation that we're having today, because we are living at an interesting time in our society. When social media first started, it was, many of you remember MySpace. You may not want to admit that to anybody, but there you go. But we lived in a world that was somewhat controllable. We knew who we were talking to, and if we didn't want them in there, we could block them. And we would talk to our kids about being in closed chat rooms online with our gaming and like that. But as many of you also know, I've written a book called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls, because we are living at a fascinating time. Literally, this generation of kids will live in a world where they have millions of followers that they've never, ever met. If they're playing in Fortnite or any of those mass audience live streaming games, they're literally potentially reaching out to millions of people. If they post a video online, it goes out to millions of people they have never met and most likely, hopefully, will never meet. But it is no longer one-way communication. It is two-way communication. They have text that can reach back to your child. By the way, think about this. That is true of the live streaming in your Discord platform or your PS5, your PlayStation 5. If they can see your child and your child can see them, your child is on live streaming that goes right into your living room, and they can see everything about you, everything behind you, including your other children. So it literally will live in a world without borders. It's something like now, I think it's 87% of kids sleep with their phone. That means, and your phones have FaceTime, by the way, and if they're playing a video game, they have live streaming. And so it is a home without walls. And so your child is online interacting, and it's getting more and more complex as we enter into virtual reality and augmented reality and extended reality, and your child is sending photos back and forth. The question becomes, if your child decides to violate the I agree contract, which you signed them up for, who is responsible? And this is getting very, very complex for these tech companies. Trust me, I'm no defender of tech companies, but we have to be realistic and fair in understanding what we're walking into today. Somebody you have never met has loaned you and your family a platform for communication. And most likely, they are not charging you for that. By the way, have you ever thought about how they make your money? Of course, they're selling you every ad in the world, but they're also tracking everything about you. And I hope you never lose sight of that thought. I have an 85-year-old cousin who I love to death, but she argues with Alexa all the time. She calls Alexa her roommate. And I'm like, watch what you're saying with there. They are recording everything you say. They record your every search, your every location, your every interaction. And, if you don't believe me, just go online and search for something weird, okay, like plastic Easter bunnies. And I guarantee you, within 30 minutes, you will have 3 more offers for plastic Easter bunnies, okay? It is called artificial intelligence, and they can do this at the drop of the hat. They can do that also for your children. So, what I'm telling you here is that you are publishing things on a site, and so is your child. And so, once it gets out there, then they have it on their website. So the laws are now changing that are starting to try to hold them responsible for what is posting on this website. So I'm back to this case that has gone to the Supreme Court, and they have refused to take on this case. What happened here is you had a man who was a child pornographer who was part of a large-scale ring. And when he got arrested, the way he was found, and this is exactly, you really need an understanding of how child pornography rings work, which, by the way, is why our movie is coming out to show kids where naked photos go when you hit send. Because you think in your mind that there's maybe only a few pedophiles out there looking for your child. If your child posts or has 1 million followers on TikTok, which is not unrealistic, many kids have 5 million, and that'll be the way it'll be in the future, I guarantee you that 1% of them are going to be some sort of bad guy who's going to try to finagle a photograph out of your child. And you better not be putting your child online till they understand exactly what the odds are that somebody is going to contact them, because your kid thinks that they're going to recognize a pedophile. Every kid I've ever met thinks they're going to recognize a pedophile right off the bat. It does not look like a pedophile. It looks like a hot little honey who's 14 years old and she's after your son playing Fortnite. Or it looks like a 16-year-old hunk to your little 11-year-old daughter who's telling her she's more mature than anybody else that they've met online, more sophisticated, and they're not like other kids, and they will not recognize that grooming. So once that photo's out there, who is responsible? The person that said, I agree, and I will only give it to them if they're 12? Or is it the person that holds the platform? Well, more and more, there is a legal movement to hold the people that hold the platforms responsible for anything that is on there. They should be responsible for getting it off. And so what is happening is they're starting to pass these laws holding them responsible. So the more laws where they're held responsible, the more strict they get on who they decide should be on their platform. And of course, they've taken it clear down to the political level where if I don't agree with you, that's misinformation. And sometimes it's a strong arm out there where other people get taken off. But what is happening is that these tech companies are starting to be required by law, and there's some laws that are being put out. One of them is called the Earn It Law, that will require all tech companies to go in and run algorithms and pull those photos off every night. Well, that's no small undertaking. Somebody like Facebook, who I'm not defending, but truthfully, they have almost 2 billion posts or people using their posts, and people post many times a night. So, they start to go on and they pull them off. Well, what good is pulling them off if you don't recognize them as child pornography? So then they're sent off to sites like NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Well, they're inundated. As I said last week, they now had, just in the year 2020, the first year of lockdowns and online learning, they had over 20 million leads of kids or sexual exploitation where kids were being violated or adults were being violated. 20 million. And I bet you it's double this year because we now have tech companies. They're no longer just waiting for people to report. They're running the algorithms looking for that exploitation and taking it off. But the problem with that now is that once NCMEC sends it to law enforcement and they go out and they file the charges for the child pornographer, which is the case which was bumped up from the Ninth Circuit Court to the Supreme Court, that child pornographer is saying, wait a minute, you didn't get a search warrant to run the algorithm on my posts. That's my post. I have a right to privacy. That's within my phone. Remember, recently, Apple was going to release a new phone that searched for child pornography, and they got major pushback across the United States of people saying, you do not have a right to go through my phone. I pay for that phone, and so therefore you don't have a right to check and see what's on it. You're violating my privacy. Is this a crazy world we live in, folks? Is it crazy? Yes. Anyway, my name is Opal Singleton. We are coming up against a break. We'll close this out here very shortly, but thank you for listening. I welcome your comments at opal, O-P-A-L, @millionkids.org. Be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about a very, very complex issue related to who is responsible when a kid's photo ends up online. One of the things I really want kids to understand is that these pedophiles are not one-offs, okay? It's not just some sleazy guy hiding in the back corner trying to trick a few hundred kids. These are organized pedophilia rings. They are huge. They're operating in the dark net. They are operating in Messenger and Kik and drop boxes and bulletproof hosting. And some of these rings actually have 1 million paid subscribers. So if your child meets up with one of the people in those rings and they send off a naked photo, that photo can go out to 1 million people in a heartbeat, in a blink of an eye. And so these are huge. Many of our kids that are being tricked are being tricked by 6, 8, 10 different guys, and they won't realize they're not talking to the same guy. All of this technology is very complex, and it just think about Pornhub. When they started taking down minor based. This means when children took their naked photo and sent it in as child pornography, or excuse me, as amateur pornography. It really was child pornography because they're underage, and they were forced to take it down. They had to take down almost a little over 9 million images. Now, how many of them were sent in by pedophiles and how many of them were sent in by teenagers? Nobody's telling us. But that gives you an idea of the scope of it. So in the meantime, you have these laws coming in that say tech companies have to scrub their platform each night. In the meantime, you have other laws that say if that's on there and you don't take it down, you can be sued. But then when they take it down and they send it to NCMEC and say, please find out who this child pornographer is, this is a lead so that you can arrest them. And then they go out and they arrest them, and the court cases make it all the way back to the Supreme Court saying, look, you didn't get a search warrant when you used artificial intelligence to scrub your database. And there is no way to get a search warrant because you don't know what you're going to find. Now, that isn't totally true. In the past, we had a prominent case where FBI cracked a dark web child pornography case. They had no idea how big it was. And they went in, they got a search warrant to go in a particular area, but they did this in Virginia. The first case they discovered was a child pornographer out of Oklahoma City. And he went all the way to the Supreme Court saying, you cannot charge me because you did not have a search warrant in the state of Oklahoma. Ultimately, in that case, we ended up with something called the Rule of 41, which basically says that law enforcement cannot have any reasonable expectation of knowing what they're going to find on the internet, in the dark web, and that as long as they get a well-defined search warrant, then it will be valid. So how all this ends up when it comes to scrubbing all of these platforms and finding these photos, we don't know. What we do know is that it'll be interesting to watch, but here's what I know. I have to deal with what I can control. I have to deal with what I can change. And this will make its way through the court system, and it will be interesting to find out how it ends. But this is what I know. Most kids don't want to be violated, and most kids want to be leaders. And if we can teach our kids how the internet is made and where naked photos go when you hit send, we can stop a world full of kids putting those photos out there in the first place. And that is why Million Kids has made this movie. If we can get parents to take down their veil of denial about technology and join this fight with us, we can change the world of sextortion and social media exploitation. And that is why I do what I do. I want you, the audience, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, teenager, I want you to understand that we're in the wild, wild west when it comes to technology. If we don't protect ourselves, nobody is going to protect us. And that starts with your teenager and your prepubescent child. And I point that out because we are putting a generation of kids who have not even been through puberty and putting them online with the idea that they're going to have the adult consciousness, the cognitive thinking to recognize what a pedophile is, what adult sex is, and why they want that naked photo. Our kids are setting ducks for these guys, and we have to educate against them. I don't know where it's going to end legally, but here's what I know. Every time a kid looks at that movie and decides not to send a naked photo, we have succeeded. Every time that we can get a parent to sit with a child and explain to them how the internet works and why they don't want to ever get that photo on there in the first place, then regardless of how these laws turn out, and all the algorithms and all the artificial intelligence, regardless of how all that works, We will win if we can make leaders of our kids. I believe with all my heart how we teach this generation to live in a world without borders and a home without walls will set the stage for all future generations of kids. We can keep literally millions and millions and millions of kids from going through the heartache of being blackmailed because they got involved in a video game, in animated video game character pornography, where they went online in a video game in the heat of the moment, they're talking smack, and they sent that vile photo, or they hooked up with the wrong person online. We can stop it. It's a matter of education. We don't have to reinvent the world. We just have to educate you and get you to educate others. That movie will be called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic, and we expect it out the first few weeks of March, hopefully the first week of March. You know, it's going to take us a lot to get this distributed. A movie in a can is worthless. We need to get this movie all around the world, and we're going to need your help. If you're willing to assist us financially, please go to millionkids.org. That's millionkids.org, and hit that donate button, or pull up that P.O. box. I go to the box myself and pick up those checks, and I pray for each and every one of you that support this work. It is my desire, it is my life's work to get this film in front of every parent, every kid around the world to see how this works. This just isn't necessary. We have to understand how it works and then teach our kids to be leaders so that other kids won't get violated. My name is Opal Singleton. You can write to me at Opal, O-P-A-L, at millionkids.org. You can support our work and help us get that movie all over the world as it comes out. Get it in your school, get it in your church, show it to your parents at your corporations, do it, sponsor an event so that people can come together and see it. Whatever we need to do to get that movie in the hands of people everywhere, we need to do. And it's going to take funding. This isn't free. I can hold a lot of bake sales, but when you're trying to get a movie around the world, it takes serious commitment and serious finances. So I appreciate each and every one of you that listen to this show. It is archived, if you want it, at millionkids.org. You can always share it with anyone that you know. Please go to millionkids.org and sign up for our e-blast so that you can stay educated on this and share this with others. That is the way this works. I'm not sure who's responsible. When you hit I agree, you agree that you will agree by the rules. But if you don't read it, how are you going to agree? And if a kid is on there and violating that rule, who's responsible if you can't get that photograph back? And you won't be able to get that photograph back. And I believe that we need to hold tech companies' feet to the fire. But again, if they're using artificial intelligence and algorithms, how do we deal with this? And even if they can come up with a photo and get it out to law enforcement and they use a search warrant, how can you deal with how they got the photo in the first place? There's a lot of unanswered questions out there, but this is what I know. We can protect our kids. Sit down with your kids today. Take your husband and your wife. Sit down together with your kids. Put your arms around them. Tell them you're proud of them. Look at each other. Say, we're going to look out for each other. You folks have a great week. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590. The Answer.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the darknet will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.